This video, we are going to talk about something called percent of change. Now, percent of change is talking about if an amount increased or decreased, say the size of the 6th grade class from last year to this year, what percent did it increase or decrease by? Now, to solve these percent of change questions, we're going to use a ratio table, and I call it my OCN box. Here's how it looks. You draw a box just like we normally do for our ratio tables, and we're going to label it OCN. And over here on the right-hand column is always going to be my percent, and my original percent is always 100. So this is how every percent of change box or OCN box is going to look. Now, O stands for original. So this is our starting amount, what we had to begin with, what happened first. C stands for change. How much did it increase or decrease by, or how much did it go up or down by? And then lastly, the N stands for new. So how much do I have after the change? So we're going to use this and practice a few problems. The first problem is here. It says last year, the 6th grade had 350 students. This year, there are only 224 students. What is the percent decrease in the number of 6th graders from last year to this year? Now, right here is very important. It said last year, and then it said this year. So we need to keep that in mind as we solve this. So to start with, I'm going to draw my OCN box. Oh, pardon me. OCN box, and we're gonna get it drawn, and we're gonna label it O for original, C for change, N for new. And as always, my percent is out of 100. Now, if I look up here, remember original was my starting amount. So therefore, which one happened first, last year or this year? So think about your world cultures class and you build timelines. So think about which one happened first. Well, last year would have happened before this year, so therefore last year came first. So my original amount is 350 students. And then it says this year there are 224. It did not say that that was how much it decreased by. It says that's my new amount. That's what I have currently, so therefore 224 is my new. So to figure out how much it changed by, we would take 350 and subtract 224, and we get it decreased. So I'm going to put minus because it decreased by 126 students. Then it says, what is the percent decrease from the number of 6th graders from last year to this year? So what is the percent decrease? Decrease means it's asking for the change. Therefore, my X goes in the change box, and I do not need the new. Now, this is a proportion just like any other one we would have. So we're going to say 350 over 126 equals 100 over X. Now we need to solve this proportion. Off the top of my head, I don't really see too much that I can do, so I could simplify a fraction. So I know that they both end in an even number. Therefore, I know that they are both divisible by 2. So if I took 350 and divided it by 2, I would get 175. And if I took 126 and divided it by 2, I would get 63. Now, that still doesn't really help me a lot. So maybe I want to go back and look at the 350 just because it had a 0 and I see 100. So maybe that might actually be the better option, because right now simplifying doesn't seem to be helping me much. So I might end up having a scale factor that is a decimal. So let's go back and check it. So let me undo all this. So let's look at 350 to 100. Well, first of all, I know I'm getting smaller, therefore I know it has to be division. So I need to figure out what I'm dividing by. Well, if you don't know it off the top of your head, divide it out. 350 divided by 100. Now 100 will go into 350 3 times. Put a decimal and a 0. And the 100 will now go into 500 5 times. Therefore, I am dividing by 3.5. So if I divided that by 3.5, I need to divide this by 3.5 as well. So we're going to take 126 divided by 3.5. However, remember, I cannot have a decimal out here in front. Therefore, I've got to move it. And if I move it there, I got to move it inside as well. So my new division problem would be 1,260. Here's now my decimal, divided by 35. Now, 35 does not go into 1. It does not go into 12. But it does go into 36 3 times. I'm sorry, 126 3 times. 3 times 35 is, let's see, 3 times 5 is 15, so 105. If I subtract, I get 21. And if I bring down my 0 here, 35 will now go into 210 6 times. And I get exactly 210. Therefore, my percent decrease is 36%. So really, the only thing new about this problem is this table here. After you have that table set up, the proportions are just about the same as what we've been doing all year. So again, the only thing new is this OCN box. Let's try another problem. This one says the cable television company charged $20.50 per month last year for premium channels. This year, they are having specials and are charging $16.40 per month. Which of the following statements is true? So again, if I draw my OCN box, put my 100, let's go and let's put the numbers that it told me. So it said last year, it was $20.50, but it says this year it's $16.40 per month. So we really have to pay attention to which one happened first. So remember, my original is the one that happened first, and so that would be last year. So it would be $20.50. And then this year would be my new amounts, which would be $16.40. And the change would be whatever that is subtracted. So if I took $20.50 and subtracted $16.40, I would get that it changed by $4.10. Then it says, which of the following is true? Well, you can see it's either an increase or decrease, and it's by a percent. Therefore, it's wanting how much it changed. I don't care about the new. Now, right away, I should be able to eliminate two choices. If I look from $20.50, it went down to $16.40. Therefore, it is a decrease. So immediately, I can now mark off A, because that said increase, and I can mark off C because it also said increase. So I know my answer is either 20 or 25%. Let's set up our proportion and find out. So I'm going to put 20, let's try that again, 0.50, oops, 0.50 so 20.50 over 4.10, that's going to equal what, or 100 out of X. All right. So let's start looking at number patterns. I'm all about finding the easiest route. If I can find a pattern without having to simplify, a lot of times that's the easiest. So the first thing I want to do is let's cross off these zeros because I don't need them. Now I see a 4 and a 20 in front of the decimal, and I see a 5 and a 1. Now if I look from, always go towards your X, which is on the bottom, I know I'm getting smaller, so I'm dividing. Now, from a 5 right here to get a 1, I know I would have to divide by 5. And from a 20 to get a 4, I also know I would have to divide by 5. Therefore, 20 divided by 5 equals 4.1. So on the right-hand side, I'm going to take 100 and divide it by 5. And 100 divided by 5 is 20%. Therefore, my answer has to be B, because D said 25, and that is incorrect. So again, almost exactly like all the other percent problems, the only thing that's really new is this OCN box. And let's look at one more together. This one says, Mrs. Dunbar will receive a salary increase of 5%. She now earns $650 a week. How much will she earn after the raise? So again, let's start by drawing my OCN box. Make sure you put your 100%. Now it says she'll receive a salary increase. So I know I'm over here adding. And it's an increase of 5%. Therefore, if I look at this addition problem, you kind of see it says 100 plus 5. So therefore, my new percent is 105. Says if she now earns that much, so she now earns $650 a week, how much will she earn after the raise? So that tells me that what she's earning now is my original amount, because I want to know the after. So now has to be the before. So I know now she's earning $650. And it's not asking how much her raise was, it's asking how much is her new amount. So I know that has to be my X. So now if I set up my proportion, so 650 over X equals 100 over 105. Now I'm gonna look at this and I'm gonna cross off anything that just does not sound reasonable. So if I go through this, I can see that my numerator right here is just a little bit smaller than my denominator right there. Therefore, this numerator, 650, has to be just a little bit smaller than my denominator, which is X. So if I look up here, C is just way too big because 800 is a lot bigger than 600. And then the same thing with D. So those two I can get rid of pretty quickly. But A and B are my two that I still need to work out. So using this, if I'm going from always go toward your X, so I'm heading to the left, well, I can take 100 and multiply it. Well, let's see, I've got a 1, so I know it's going to be a 6 and a 5. And I know 100 times 6 is 650, so I need to say 6.5 will give me 650, because 100 times 6 is 600. So therefore, I need to multiply 105 times 6.5. And if I multiply 105 times 6.5, I get $682.50. Therefore, my answer is A.